Welcome back to Open Line. Talking about several bills in the legislature. One says it should be illegal for judges to offer sterilization to inmates in exchange for a lower prison sentence. That was actually happening in White County, caused quite an uproar. Representative Brenda, Gilmore, Senator Jeff Yarbro are sponsoring a bill that would just put it in writing. That would be illegal. Couldn't happen anymore. Taking your comments on Facebook, Benjamin Michael Pacino says sterilization is admitting defeat. We need to help Tennesseans overcome their addiction. So that would be in line with what you all are saying.
Yes, absolutely.
We're seeing a lot of other comments. People are somewhat supportive of it. So we're seeing both sides. Jania Burns, being in the Bible Belt and they're talking about sterilization, I'm not a very religious person, but what if that came up with a person that sterilization is against their religion? What do you offer them? Not a good plan.
Yes.
And that's in line with also what if they're older?
Yes.
All right, so what are some of the bills, we can talk about that, but I also want to broaden it out. What are some of the bills, I guess, that concern you? We'll also get to the bills that you're supportive of, that being one of them, to ban sterilization. What are some of the bills that concern both of you in this upcoming legislative session?
Well, Senator Yarbro and I, in fact, we are sponsoring some good legislation this time. One of the ones is several years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, this General Assembly passed a bill that if you defaulted on your student loans, then you would have your license revoked. And that has caused so much pain in this state, because we've literally had hundreds of people who have lost their license, nurses and other people with professional license. And so I would ask the question is, how can you pay back your student loans if you lose your license and you can't work?
So this is your profession. It's not your driver's license, right?
No,
what we're talking about here is your professional license, like a nurse or some other things. Do you know how many people have been impacted by this?
I don't have the precise. I think it's over 1,500 people in Tennessee have at some point had their license suspended. Now, a fair number of those people have gotten them back over time, but again, we have to think about, like, do we really want to use take away someone's right to do what they do for a living in order to pay back loans in the private sector? It just doesn't seem like the right use of the state's power.
And there's already a tool out there to address this. When people get behind, their actual salaries could be garnished. So why take away their license, either temporary or permanently?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So what can you do? Is there some punishment, I guess, if they don't pay? Yeah. But you're saying garnish the wages.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, we have a whole string of laws at the federal and state level that allow someone that holds a loan to go and try to collect on that loan. We usually don't insert ourselves as a state government and say, you don't get to keep being a nurse because you couldn't pay your loans back this week or this month. And I hope that it's not being used in such a draconian fashion, but I'm not even sure that that's a good way to go about this. So a lot of states around the country did this in the late 90s and early 2000s, and almost all of them are reversing course now. It's been the subject of a big sort of examination across the country, and we need to join states that figure out that this is not a useful practice and isn't the right place for us to exercise our authority.
So before I start taking calls, what is your sense about whether that will pass? Do you feel like that will pass, or are you getting indications that it's going to be a tough fight, or what are you getting?
I'm really optimistic because there are about 7 legislators have filed similar bills, both Republicans and Democrats. So I had made the suggestion today that why don't we all come together and pick out the best of all the bills and come up with a strong bipartisan bill and get it passed. I had a specific example. A lady who was a head nurse, she lost her license, and of course that meant she lost her job. So we're talking about people's careers because of this horrible legislation.
All right, let's take some calls here. Let's go to Ann. Hello, Ann.
Hi.
Go right ahead.
When you're dealing or talking sterilization, you're talking a lifetime impact. And you're dealing with people who 5, 10, 15 years down the road are not going to be using the same mindset that they have when they're in prison. You're talking litigation that's going to come back, and there are going to be lawsuits. You're going to have someone, he's going to be in a different mindset, and those are going to be people with regrets. This is ludicrous in this day and age to use sterilization for get out of jail free card. It's crazy.
All right, Ann, thank you.
We agree with that.
We agree. I mean, I think Ann said it exactly right. People shouldn't have a lifetime punishment or lifetime decision made because they're in jail for a short amount of time.
Well, let's go to William. Hello, William.
Yes.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Yes. One is about that sterilization. Maybe the judge was talking like Donald Trump. And one thing is about the student loan. I was paying the student loan until our government took away my job. Now I cannot pay it. And the thing bad about student loan is not the principal, it's the interest. You have to pay over $180 a month, for interest alone, because they charge interest 6%. And monthly 31 days or 30, that's 180 for interest alone, and then you have to pay another 100. And some people cannot afford it. They need to take away that interest. Let people do the principal.
Okay, all right. He's talking about these loans are tough to pay off.
Yes.
In the first place, the interest, obviously you're getting a lower interest than you would get at the bank, but the interest still is there. Does this shed light on a bigger issue that we need to address student loans?
Well, education is really, really expensive, and a lot of people come out of college with a tremendous burden, and that is student loans. I mean, our doctors probably come out owing $250,000. And so to punish them again, it just doesn't make any sense. And to take their license away takes away their ability to take care of their families and themselves and to pay the loans back.
I mean, our parents' generation used to say they worked themselves through school because they actually could. You could work as someone at a college, and tuition was low enough at most public colleges and university that would be enough to actually pay for your tuition. At this point, tuition has skyrocketed in the country at the same time that wages are basically flat or down for most people.
Well, let's go to David. Hello, David.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Hey, I don't think you guys are being too honest about the student loan issue. And the reason why I say that is you don't have doctors and you don't have nurses that have difficulty paying these loans back. You have the issue is with people that majored in aesthetic experience, women's studies. They're out there selling futons now because they can't get a good job because they had a worthless degree. So the focus needs to be on people pursuing meaningful degrees, and they're creating this unnecessary demand, and that's why people cannot go out there and work their way through college, because there's an artificial increase in demand for a college degree, a lot of which serve no purpose whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that being part of the discussion.
I mean, I think that might be part of the larger discussion about student loans, but it doesn't really have any relevance to our proposal, because what ours is for people who are licensed professionals in Tennessee, which only applies to a handful of professions. You have to either be a teacher, a lawyer, a nurse, a certain profession that is subject to state regulation, and so we know that those professions and what those people studied is something that is valued in the economy and is something that we care about as a state government, because that's why we regulate and treat it. And so what's strange about it is that we're actually holding this big stick against the people who have studied the things that we know we need, like teachers and nurses, and the people that the caller sort of really raises. We're not using this power of the state to go after them.
And the other thing I wanted to say to the caller too, and I don't know this for a fact because I hadn't looked at the statistics. I suspect though that the majority of the people who are teachers and nurses are females, and females who are heads of their household. So not only are we affecting and impacting their careers, we're also impacting families and children. And so again, we should not be punishing people like this. I certainly don't want to give the impression that people shouldn't pay back their student loans. We want them to take responsibility and pay back their student loans. But again, I would ask, if you take someone's ability to work away, how can they pay back the student loan?
All right, we're going to take a break. If you're on the line, hold on. We will get to your call in the next segment. There's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We're also reading comments on our Facebook page as we stream this live. Take a break, be back right after this.